Well, you know who I also wish had just a touch more self-awareness from the Big 12?
Who's that?
Mr. Scott Frost. Buddy. I've
Famously
given
aware human, so I get it.
any sort of last hope I had that he was going to approach this thing with just a drop of self-awareness. It's gone. It's gone. That was unbelievable. The talk in season quote that I first saw from Chris Vanini on Tuesday at Big 12 Media Days. It's the type of quote that makes you realize some people are just living in their own world. It's the George Costanza line about it's not a lie if you believe it. You know, Scott Frost was asked about what he learned from his time at Nebraska. And he started it by saying, quote, "Don't take the wrong job."
Good advice. Okay.
Agreed to a certain extent. We'll get to that in a second. He also added that I wouldn't leave UCF unless it was someplace you could win a national championship. I got tugged in a direction to try to help my alma mater and didn't really want to do it. It wasn't a good move. I'm lucky to get back to a place where I was a lot happier, close quote. A ton to unpack with just the ultimate revisionist history quote.
Sounds like you don't think you won a national championship either.
Good point, Will. Good point.
Mm-hmm.
In theory, as you mentioned, don't take the wrong job is good advice. If you just see that quote from a random coach, good advice.
Yeah.
Understandable. There are certain places where you could have bad alignment and you're doomed before you ever set foot on campus. Okay? We don't need to go down the Brian Harsin road again. Maybe the wrong job for Brian Harsin in hindsight. I have had, on a personal level, I've had opportunities to leave this company during the 10 years that I've been here. And each time I've thought, you know what?
I'm really going to miss
the wrong
Will.
job for me. Say it again.
You thought you're really going to miss Will. He stayed. Thank you.
First of all, there are times in which you haven't been in this company, in which other opportunities
That's
have come
okay.
up. But
I
yes,
also left the company. It's a good point.
You literally have left the company at different points. But totally, yeah, obviously. But each time, like, something has come up, I've thought, you know what? That's the wrong job. And ultimately, I am still at a company that hired me a decade ago when I was living in central Nebraska, driving 50 miles each way past Scott Frost's childhood hometown of Wood River, Nebraska. It's because of that, as well as my time living in Orlando, that I feel perfectly inclined to weigh in on this, Will. I don't want to call myself a Scott Frost expert, but I am at least a Scott Frost understander of a lot of different things, because I remember when all of this was bubbling to the surface back in 2017 and UCF fans were like, why would Scott Frost leave an awesome place like Orlando with theme parks and whatnot to go back to Nebraska? There's nothing there. Quality of life. And
you having just left Nebraska for Orlando, hold on. I've got some things to say about this.
Feel like I am one of the very few people that could actually understand both sides of that argument. Lincoln's lovely. Lincoln's a lovely place. There were rumors that his wife never wanted to leave. And from all accounts, Frost really did love UCF and wasn't going to leave for the Florida job, which apparently was just sitting there for him.
Sure.
And he didn't really have much interest in it. And okay, I can kind of understand that. He was only going to leave for Nebraska. Kind of that's what was coming out then. It's what he's using to be able to talk about now, whatever. But holy crap, that quote is a bunch of holy crap. Frost said that he was tugged. I'm putting that in air quotes for the audio only audience. Tugged by his alma mater. Dude is acting like he was talked into another round of shots by his buddy at the bar, and not having Tom freaking Osborne saying, come home. In Nebraska, it is Tom Osborne and God in that order. Okay.
Yep.
That is greater than a call from God in that state. It just is. He was so pained by the decision that he accepted the job well before that regular season finale. I knew someone really well who worked at UCF. And at the time, like, he told me a week before that game, Scott Frost has already told his entire staff they're coming with him to Nebraska. This is done. It is understood in that building. This is happening. And it's just Nebraska is going to wait until after he has that final regular season game to be able to announce it. I think Brett McMurphy reported that at halftime or something like that, and it started to trickle out. It was the worst kept secret in the world. And I say that because if I get breaking news, it's the worst kept secret in the world. All right. Like, I'm not pretending like I had some inside scoop that nobody else had. No. Like, everybody knew it at the time. Okay. So miss me with the I was being tugged part of that talking season quote. That dude was the prodigal son who got a hero's welcome, plus all the booster support that one can possibly have. He got so much booster support, Will, that they kept him for year 5, even though he started off 15-29. Okay? That dude was 0-13 against ranked teams. He went 5-22 in one-score games. He'd constantly throw players under the bus after losses. He was too busy caring about players wearing hoodies instead of looking in the mirror and having any sort of accountability whatsoever. But sure, it was the job that forced him to become the worst version of himself. And that's the other worst kept secret in Nebraska. Anyone will tell you, and I'll leave it at this. His personal life was in shambles because of the decisions he made. Okay? The job wasn't the reason why he made bad decision after bad decision. And no, I'm not just talking about why he wouldn't hire a special teams coordinator. Okay? You even had Nebraska willing to cheat for him when he had illegal COVID workouts. And then a year later, they leak it to the NCAA just because he was finally starting to lose support in that building of like, let's kind of get ahead of this one. And they definitely leaked that to the NCAA. We can all agree that Nebraska is not set up to win titles like it was in the 20th century. The fact that everyone figured out that you should recruit nationally and, oh, by the way, you should lift weights and not assume it's going to stunt your growth. People kind of caught on to the Nebraska model, and it has since been copied and replicated in much better ways, in ways that Nebraska could not keep up with. Okay, I'm not going to sit here and tell you Nebraska is about to win national titles, but man, you literally went 13-0 at UCF, and we're told, no, you cannot win a national championship. So I don't get why you're pretending like you left a place with limited upside, even though you had the Big Ten West schedule, whatever. Now Scott Frost has the worst team in the Big 12, and I don't need a media poll to tell me that. Okay, that's the Connor Big 12 media poll telling you that. He's a clown.
Which is like Gus Malzahn's fault. Like, to be clear, that's true. Not on him. But it will be soon.
It will be soon. And when he can't figure it out and he inevitably starts throwing people under the bus and he blames the job and the ways of college football just aren't working out for him, get ready for it because he is a clown. He is an absolute clown to come out with something like that. I have never seen someone lack such self-awareness during talking season to say something like that. Diego Pavia talking about leading Vandy to national championships is more self-aware than Scott Frost saying that he took the wrong job and all these things about being tugged in this direction. Good Lord, miss me with that. I look forward to watching him fail and blaming other people throughout that whole process.
Yeah, I mean, it's all just revisionist history, right? Because, if you win a couple more close games, I mean, he probably had the most job security outside like Brian Ferentz in college football based on the what he put in. I mean, he was...
that's a great Brian Ferentz reference, Will.
Facts, right? He was getting like rope based on stuff that happened as a player in the 90s and stuff. It's like he didn't do anything to prove that he could actually win a close game ever. They just kept... I don't know if they extended him necessarily, but you kind of have to if you were...
He had an extension at the end of year 2.
Yep, there you go.
Bill Moose gave him. And Bill Moose, who had his own personal demons that he was working through, admittedly so, he came out and admitted, we just did that to try and get some recruiting momentum in November. And we're just trying to really hit on something late. And, even though we knew it wasn't earned, we just thought, screw it, we'll do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. None of it was earned, right? So it's like, hey, everybody talks about, I want to go back home. Like, Harbaugh got closer to getting fired, I feel like, than he did until the very end, where Harbaugh had that weird game against Rutgers and everybody was soured on him.
Was terrible. Yeah.
Fans obviously were pretty out on him, but the administration, to your point, was ready to just chain themselves to Scott Frost and get hit by a trade if that's what it took. And so I don't know, you really can't say you were given a raw deal here because Matt Rule comes in and immediately builds his first class NIL facility, immediately gets Raiola, immediately just makes Nebraska look at least kind of respectable, right? Just not a laughing stock. So it's not like they're poor. You're essentially calling them poor and disorganized, where in reality, they were incredibly aligned on you, and they've looked rich as heck since then, and they gave you this dream deal to come to leave UCF. So, I think we could all kind of look back and say, hey, it was a no-brainer to go to a power conference job that is your alma mater, that has all this history. When Tom Osborne called, that was a great decision to make for your personal life at that time. you handled it terribly, dog. You screwed up. You need to look within yourself. And that's the problem, is that I don't see any like looking in the mirror moment here. And coming from Gus Malzahn, maybe the least look in the mirror coach in college football history. It's like, guys, you can't have another guy who's over here just trying to like, pee on your leg until he gets rated, basically.
Well, I don't like to always speak in absolutes. I probably do it a little bit too often. And if people are sick of hearing me talk in absolutes, I apologize. But I don't know that I have ever seen a coach at a job where the fan base wanted it to work more than Scott Frost at Nebraska. And we're talking about a fan base that has had a sellout streak since the Kennedy administration. Okay.
Yep.
And took so much pride in that and was selling tickets to charity organizations to be able to make sure that they kept this streak alive. Yeah, that's a dirty little secret too. And they would do these things because, God, they wanted it to work. They wanted it to work so badly. And in this era of college football, which, Scott Frost was fired before we really got into the true NIL era. So I'm not saying that it's the same as what it is right now, but that support and having that type of booster backing is kind of everything. And he had it in spades. It doesn't mean that they had national championship upside. Okay. But this notion of like the job drove you to those things. No. Miss me.
Over COVID too. I mean, look at like Louisiana turning on Coach O. Look at Florida turning on Mullen, who did all that stuff with Tebow and had them competing for New Year's Six Bowl. Like, I'm looking around at college football, I'm like, bro, look how COVID just changed everything, and fan bases and administration specifically got soured on guys overnight. And it's like, you didn't have any of that, did you? Wow. Well, lucky you were, honestly.
Unbelievably lucky. And to sit here, I hope Nebraska never lets him back in the state. I hope when he tries to go back home to Wood River, Nebraska, I hope people are like, nope, can't get in. We're on the border right here. You could stay in Iowa. Oh, you want to fly in here? We're gonna check you. We're gonna check you in Omaha. You're gonna drive to Lincoln, fly into Grand Island. Nope, none of those are gonna work. We're not going to allow you any opportunities.
Meet him, like, kind of at the border and be like, hey, guess what? Your coaching tenure didn't happen. Your coaching tenure didn't happen. You're Scott Frost, the player. That's it. We're not going to talk. Zero questions about this. If someone asks you about being a coach here, just look at them like they have three heads and be like, I'm just a quarterback. I don't know what you're talking about.
Dude, miss me with that.
Yeah.
That dude sucks.